Hey everyone, I hope you're all having a fantastic day. If you have ever tried to practice drawing and have had frustration, I have sort of like a cheat sheet for you. I love to go thrifting for old magazines, and I went to I went to a couple of thrift stores and an old bookstore, and I found these fantastic old Life magazines. But the thing about the Life magazines is that they were old and they kind of have an odor to them, which is fine. I never pass up a magazine from the 50s or 60s, never. And so we're going to look at some of the incredible advertisements in here because they're humorous, as well as I'm going to show you what you can do when you have these kind of old magazines that maybe you can't save because they're not in the greatest shape, but you can use them in your artwork, especially if you want to create unique pieces without having to draw everything. So that's what we're going to do today. And I'm going to walk you through some of these advertisements. We're going to have a look at some of the pages in this magazine, Life magazine, and then I'm going to show you how you can use them in your artwork. So I'm going to flip the camera around and I hope you join me. A lot of the ads from 1963 focused on, it looked like the ideal American lifestyle. So there's a lot of like smiling families, modern kitchens, televisions, and there were a lot of shiny new cars. It was really on convenience. It was all about convenience, and there were a ton of cigarette ads that I didn't include in here. And the other thing was gender roles were extremely noticeable in this magazine, and I did not show that because, well, except for here. Otherwise, I didn't show it too much because I wanted to focus on just the colors, the texts, and just give that old vintagey vibe. But this one was interesting because everyone talks about the cornucopia, and there is no cornucopia in the advertisement for 1963 for Fruit of the Loom. And I love this one, of course, Smokey the Bear. That one is a cigarette ad, but and then there was this really cool little advertisement on this man who, I don't know why, but he was breeding teeny tiny donkeys that you could have in your apartment as a pet. And I just found this one little sort of article on it, and it was just so different. His name was Ron Brewer, and he was from England, Southall, England. And I guess he was known as Ron the Donkey Man. And he had a home where he kept retired donkeys. Here are a couple of the pictures that I like. I like this lady dancing, and I like this picture here. So I'm going to probably paint over that guy smoking a cigarette, but just going to cut this. And I'm going to use these two photos from the magazine. I'm going to be using the Soho series sketchbook that I really like. I'm using the Soho sketchbook. It's my favorite sketchbook. It holds up well to any type of art materials, so wet and dry. I decided to use a matte medium. This was a thick matte medium for one of the pages, which is this one right here, and then the other one I use glue. It turns out the glue is much better. If I just put the glue on the back of it and glue it on top, it's much better for adding different art supplies on top. The matte medium, even if I waited for it to dry, I found the paper was really, really wrinkled. But by then I've already, planned everything out. So I'm just letting you know that in the end, the glue definitely worked better. It's not holding up the way magazines today would hold up, so I'm just going to go with it. But I'm not going to include glue on the front of this because I want to be able to draw on top of it. So the matte medium allows me to draw on top of it, but we'll see what happens here. So I'm just going to place it on the paper. And so I added glue on the bottom, flattened it out with another piece of paper so that there'd be no wrinkles. And I'm going to just draw right on top of this and paint right on top of this. And it's just going to show you how you can create beautiful artwork without actually having to redraw everything. This is great art journal exercise and a great way to practice your drawing and painting skills. I am going to use gesso along with some hemi-gouache because this is just practice for me. I would use acrylic paint, but getting all my paints out, getting them all set up, it's just too much. So what I am doing is using a little bit of clear gesso, and I'm going to mix some of my hemi-gouache with it and practice painting over this lady to see if I can bring her to life, but practicing my painting, and that's what I'm going to do. And I can color on top of it if I keep it clear, because the hemi-gouache, you're kind of making this magazine paper into a work of art. You're playing around and learning. For me personally, like skin tones, shadows, you know, using a variety of colors to create a painterly effect. Now I have my Neocolor crayons, and I'm just going to see if I can just color a little bit on top of it. The colored pencils, because of, I don't know, just because the paper is very smooth, doesn't work very well on it. So I've decided to go with my Crayon d'Ache Neocolors. Now these are water soluble, but I'm not going to use them as water soluble. I'm just trying to go over different areas. I forgot to paint that guy's face. And just sort of, again, create a painterly effect. This is what I've done so far with the artwork. Once I get going, it's kind of hard with my setup to video and record everything. But I started with the gesso and the hemi-gouache, and then I added some colored pencils. Not too much though, because it was still too wet. And then I went back over it with some acrylic paint. These aren't done, but I want to let them fully dry before I go over it again and fix some little errors, like the dot over her head and the skin tones are off. But I want to add a little bit of colored pencil. Now this one was all wrinkled up, but actually I feel like it works for me. I kind of like it. And again, this is just fun art journaling and seeing what you can do with some magazine photos and make it into your own art, but also learn about colors, textures, and I'm still trying to practice the skin tones, which is super challenging. Even if you're painting on top of the faces, it's still super hard to get skin tones and shadows. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions about my process, please let me know. If you have any questions about my process, please let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.